Welcome to episode 205 of Missing Pieces. This is my weekly audio journal podcast where I talk about what I'm up to and what I'm into. I'm recording this on the afternoon of Friday, April 19th, 2024, a day that I've been looking forward to for a very long time because it was the official return of yard sale season. This morning we went out and I had some pretty good luck. I ended up finding two Lego scores, both kind of like buckets of Lego. One I got for $10, one was $8, so $18 all in, and I left with some Lego, which is all it takes to make my day. We had a pretty great time, went out with Yami and Pap, of course. Even Clarkman joined along. He wasn't feeling very well this morning, so he couldn't go to school right away. Instead, had to go out yard selling with us, which he actually found a couple scores too. And for me, it's one of those situations where what's more memorable, going out with your family on the first day of yard sale season or spending the morning in class learning or how to take PSSAs? I think we made the right decision. He ended up going to school and I ended up coming home, and I'm sitting here with you right now making this podcast. So let's talk about it. Going from current times all the way back till last Friday when I recorded last week's episode, my return after 2 weeks of being off from the Disney trip and then all of that stuff. So we're back in the routine, which is good. But last Friday, things went from good to bad for me health-wise. I talked about last episode feeling great. Everything was going really fantastic. That night, though, man, it kind of changed for me. I started getting a sore throat. And I was like, oh, shoot, I'm getting sick. Cody had been sick earlier in the week, and she had a cough and a cold or whatever. I think I talked about that last week. Clark was sick for like one day, and then he was good. But then like my throat was getting sore. I'm like, oh, I'm getting this. And by Saturday, I honestly thought that I had strep throat. My throat was absolutely raw. And I was dealing with it throughout the day, trying cough drops, which really weren't working at all. And by like 7:00 at night, I was like, I think I'm going to go to the Med Express or whatever, the urgent care or whatever, and see if they can do a test and get me on antibiotics or something. I called them though, and they were like, well, we're going to be closing shortly. We're not accepting any like people or patients in or whatever. So I was like, okay, I'll just go to the grocery store instead. And I got some of that like throat spray that kind of like numbs up your throat. And I got some cough drops that seemingly do something similar. And I was taking those and it really wasn't helping that much, but it made it bearable. That was until Sunday morning when I woke up at like 1:00 in the morning after going to bed Saturday night. And my throat was so sore that I couldn't sleep. It was just absolutely awful. One positive thing to come from that is that I watched a really good movie, one on Amazon Prime called Air. And it's the story of Michael Jordan going into the NBA. Although it's not really a story of him, but it's more of the story of Nike, particularly one gentleman that worked there that was commissioned with having to sign some players to wear Nike shoes. And at the time, like right now, obviously Nikes are a big deal in sports and the brand is very, very popular. But at the time in the NBA, at least, Converse and Adidas were the brands to be and to wear. And of course, if you were Michael Jordan, that's most likely who you're going to sign with. So this guy fought tooth and nail to try to get to get Nike to commit to Michael, and using all of their money, it was like $250,000, which seems like a pittance these days. But they were going to use all of the money on one player instead of 3 or 4 other players. And then not only that, but to sweeten the deal, they made him his own shoe, which happened to be the Air Jordan, and had, more red than white on it, which at the time the NBA was illegal, but Nike agreed to pay the $5,000 per game fine so Michael Jordan could wear these shoes, and it just like sweetened the deal for him. But speaking of sweeten the deal, and this is where like the big takeaway from that movie was for me, it was his mom who was such a believer in him and felt so strongly about what Michael Jordan brought to the table. And, obviously we know now that she was right, but into the deal with Nike, in order for him to sign with them instead of Adidas, for example, who Michael was pretty much committed to, she wanted him to receive a portion of the sales from each of the shoes instead of just getting like the lump sum deal. And like, I think it was like a 5-year commitment where he would make that money each year. It was like, okay, every Michael Jordan pair of shoes that sells, he gets a percentage of. And they ultimately agreed to that. And when you know it, like in the end of the movie, when they're telling you like all the details of that, to this day, Michael Jordan, who's obviously far retired and living his greatest life right now, smoking cigars and playing golf, he's making $400 million a year passively from this deal that his mom helped broker, which is just insane. So that was just a really like cool business story. And it was a story of, uh, believing in yourself. And when you have some type of belief in someone, in the case of the Nike exec guy that was signing them, like you really got to like just push forward for what you think is right, and also like something you feel passionate about, and trying to convince other non-believers of that. That's the takeaway that I got from the movie. But nonetheless, we know the story of Michael Jordan after that, and the movie wasn't really even about him. They never had him speak, they never showed his face. It was kind of like him passing by, and it was more about like the guy at Nike, which I can't remember his name. I'm sorry. I was just clutching my throat the whole time. And then his mom, and it was just cool. So, good movie, Amazon Prime. You can watch it if you have Prime, which many of us do, and you can watch it there for free. So I watched that Saturday night. By Sunday, though, weird thing happened on Sunday. I told you like my throat was unbearably sore that night, like just ruined. By Sunday, my throat was feeling like way better. But then it kind of shifted into my head, and I was feeling like I had like these like a headache of sorts, and I was just super tired, and I spent all of Sunday completely crashed out on the couch, like being awake and sleeping and just going back and forth in like a various states of trance, I guess. So Sunday was a complete wash. And then another weird thing happened on Monday where I all of a sudden felt great. And I was like, whoa, this is really weird. Like I felt awesome on Monday, and I kind of got like back to work. I started into my, obviously I've been working on all these Disney videos, and I had gotten done with all the editing, and it felt glorious. I talked about last week how I've been doing nothing but editing Disney videos, and how I was so sick of just hearing myself talk and seeing myself. And I was just like so over it. And it was so nice to kind of be done with that and then move on to other things, which I decided to dedicate some time to the Lego side of things. Obviously I have my Lego channel, which had been neglected for weeks because I was making that stuff and we were gone. So I was like, okay, I need to do some Legoing, which isn't really a need. It's like, that was like my break. And I think I talked a little bit about that last week, where my break from making or editing Greg's World Disney videos was to go make Lego videos. And it was just like a breath of fresh air. As weird as that sounds, it was like a relief. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to do more of this. So I kept working on Lego stuff, and I came up with this idea that I wanted to experiment with, because everything that I do seemingly is an experiment. I just try various things, what works, what doesn't work. Because when you do what I do, there is no guidebook to this. There's no manager that I can go to and say, what should I do next, boss? Or where are we taking the company? It's like, it's on you. You decide, which is a gift and a curse. I think it's way more of a gift than a curse, but it can be kind of, it's like something that you think about a lot, where you're like, oh shoot, should I be doing this differently? Should I be doing more of this? Should I be doing less of this? We've talked about that. And I always use the phrase, like, if I had a board of directors, what would they tell me to do? They would tell me to shut this thing down and to do more of this. And like, I don't always like to listen to the money side of things, cause like, that leads you down to a path of, I don't know, it could be burnout. It could be just not being happy. I didn't quit my very detail-oriented job to then go into having another job. I want to do what I feel passionate about and share that passion with the world, because that's what's got me where I'm at today. I do what I love to do, and I hope that other people enjoy it as well. And I have to have that faith that that's the case. But anyways, in Lego, I was like, what I'm doing here would really work well for all of YouTube's things that they do. And if you want to know what that is, obviously videos, what you're watching now, if you're on YouTube, or if you want to, you can listen to this in podcast land on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I should make more of a note to mention that. The business people they're telling me this right now. If you would rather listen to this episode as opposed to having it on YouTube, or like having your phone like out with this on or whatever, you can just download it as a podcast. It'll automatically download for you each week. On Sunday afternoon, it'll pop up, and then you can listen to it whenever you want, which is pretty cool. That's how I would consume this personally, because as you can tell, YouTube peeps, which makes up about 70% of you, there's not much to see here, unless you just like me, like being with you in the room or whatever it is that we're doing together right now. Oh, what was that? What do you got going on there? I break the fourth wall, or what wall is this? I'm breaking some wall right now. Anyways, I was like, okay, let's do this. I brought back the My Week in Lego thing, where I'm recording like little things that I'm doing each day, right? And making I guess a little bit of a longer video at the end of the week showing all of my progress. I liked that before, but I felt like I need to show up more than that. That's where that wasn't working. So I started doing YouTube Shorts as well, like my little daily accomplishment. And it's really fun to do those. Like obviously I've been a video guy forever. I love that side of YouTube, and that's good because that's the only side that really pays you at all. We'll talk more about that here in a second. YouTube Shorts, they pay, I think about, for me, comparing things, about 8% of what you make on a video. So let's say if you had 1,000 views on a video, I think in my Lego thing, it's like $3 for 1,000 views. If you're wondering how much a YouTuber makes per 1,000 views, about $3, right? The short, I think it was like 25 cents or something like that. It was a pittance. So it's almost not worth your time making the shorts, but something interesting comes from this. And my board of directors they're clapping over here because the shorts, unlike your videos that kind of mostly get fed to your current subscriber base, the shorts get pushed into the YouTube Shorts algorithm or whatever, the TikTok death scroll that is YouTube Shorts. And Shorts feed, I guess you'd want to call it. And that may show up to anybody. And it could most likely be to someone that's never seen your content before. And they might see it and be like, oh, that guy, I kind of like what he's got going on there. Oh, he does other stuff, or he's been making videos forever. Or, oh, that I like him, whatever. And I've noticed that I'm getting a good amount of subscribers from these shorts. So I'm thinking the shorts, not only are they like a little daily check-in, it's also a little bit of promotion of yourself, right? And I don't do anything different in them. I don't go crazy like talking super fast with text on the screen. It's essentially a little short, condensed, vertical style video version of what my week in Lego is going to be. And I think this is really smart to do. It'd be even smarter if I uploaded them to TikTok and Instagram, which I may also do, because then you can get 3 birds with 1 stone. Also promotion tools, because then someone finds you on Instagram and they're like, oh, he has a YouTube channel. Let me check that out. Oh, this is fun. There's a lot of stuff here. I like it. But then I did something else too this week, which I looking back now, probably not the best idea. I also started doing daily live streams. And what I've determined with live streams versus YouTube Shorts is that the live streams are a gigantic waste of my time. And I don't mean that to insult you. If you're a person that enjoys the streams, I appreciate you tuning in. If you're a smaller subsection of people that chat in the streams, it's nice talking to you. But from a business sense, looking at the data from the streams, they don't do anything for me. I mean, live streaming is supposed to kind of like foster a tighter bond with your community, which I feel like I have already, because my videos are very personal as they are, as is like what you're watching now. This is about as personal as it gets. But the live streams don't generate any new viewers, because they just kind of go out to your current peeps, like no new viewers. And the other matter is that most people that watch YouTube, and YouTube actually has a thing that in the analytics that show this, they show how many people just watch your videos, which in my case is like 70-some%. And then like 20-some% watch videos and live streams. And then hardly anyone watches just videos and shorts, because I don't really do shorts. But I just say all that to say that most the people that watch my content don't really care about live streams. And I can see that in the numbers. So not only do they not make any money at all, they also don't generate any new people to find my stuff. And most of the audience isn't interested in it. So it's like it has all these strikes against it. But also it takes a lot of effort to sit and talk. Like I'm doing it right now. This is like cake work for me. But to do that every day while you're building something and multitasking and trying to maintain some type of conversation level, it's a lot to do. When I could just as easily just be watching like a YouTube video myself, or listen to a podcast, which would be enjoyable, and then just do a little YouTube short or my weekend Lego update showing what I did, which is what most people want to see. So you can see why after 1 week, I'm axing the live streams. In fact, I don't know if I'm going to go back to doing any Lego live streams again. And I know like the worst part of this is like, this is a lesson that I've learned before. I feel like I've done this, like history keeps repeating itself. What happens is I long for live streaming because I enjoy doing it in the same way that I enjoy what I'm doing right now. I feel like I'm a okay speaker. I feel like I can engage and like give people a good experience. But then I do it. I typically go a little too hard in it. I get a little burnout. Then I look at the numbers and I'm just like, why am I doing this? What I should do, and a more sane person would do, obviously not me, would be like, okay, let's just do a live stream once a week. But once a week doesn't exist in my mind. My mind is like every day or not at all. Where are we going here? it's painful for me. Pursuing a balance is something I will perpetually struggle with for all eternity. I'm sure of that because I just can't do anything a little. That's why I don't drink. That's why I don't do drugs, kids. Don't do it either because you don't want that. And if I did that, I'd be off the rails so fast. I would lose everything. That's why I don't gamble. I mean, I limit my vices. My worst vice is probably, I'd say deal hunting. It's like my favorite thing I love to do. And I go all in on that too, which usually has a positive result, right? And I get a lot out of that personally. And I like to share that with the world too. So I feel like that's a win-win. Anyways, I'm going to keep doing the weekend Lego because I feel like that's very natural for my style because I'm like a vlogger at heart and these are like vlogs. They're like Lego vlogs, which is good. And then the shorts are just so perfect because it's just like a little snapshot. It's like, if you don't know what a short is I'm sure you know what a TikTok is or video. In YouTube, you have 1 minute to say what you want to say and show what you want to show. And that's the biggest challenge for me. And I like that because it's like I could blabber on forever about things and I find myself doing that. But it's like, okay, you only have this amount of time. What is it that you want to say and show? And how can you make this somewhat engaging? And that's what I've been trying to do. And it's been nice seeing like the results of that. And I like that as just like it's like a little daily diary entry. And it's speaking to me. So I think I'm going to continue doing those. Just like, it's just perfect. It's like, here's my little daily check-in for the people that want to see it. But then if you don't like shorts, and I know some people avoid them like the plague, typically I don't watch any YouTube shorts. Anytime they show me the shorts, I get out of them. But YouTube's really pushing that. And I do think it's going to be the future, particularly if TikTok gets shut down, which is looking more and more likely by the day. So I think there's going to be a lot of TikTok users that come over to YouTube and maybe they'll find that and they'll find the videos. And again, I just think that the shorts can be a tool for new people to find the content that I really want to share, which is the longer form videos that actually earn revenue. There's the business side of my Lego channel. If you, the thing that no one asked for, but hopefully we're interested in hearing about as I went into it. So I did all of that in Lego. I got a lot of stuff done. Like we're done with Lego Disney Week. Clarkman and we did the Lego Disney CMFs, the 100 series, which was great. I built Minnie and Mickey Mouse. We built some BrickHeads. We had a great time this week, and it was a lot of fun. And I'm excited to kind of have that chapter done, and then I'm ready to keep doing new stuff. And it's fun to me. This is what I love to do. Combine that with yard sale season coming and finding Lego scores. Chef's kiss, my friends. So that was a good week in that regard. As for my sickness throughout the week, it just kind of kept lingering. Even like right now, and you might be able to hear it in my voice, I'm a little like congested a little bit. I've got a bit of a cough and things, but it's not like debilitating. It's not bad. It's not like the absolute rawness that was my throat on Saturday night and then it being gone. Someone said in a comment or a chat or somewhere, I've been a lot of places this week. They said it sounds like some type of sinus infection, which could be how it moved from like my throat to like my head to my nose. Like it's migrating. Maybe it's a brain eating amoeba, which could explain a lot of things for me mentally. But that's kind of what happened. I talked about the Air movie that I watched. I also forgot to mention last week that Clark and I are watching X-Men 97, which is so good. That's on Disney Plus, particularly if you loved the X-Men show from the 90s that was on Fox. And then I also, while we were away, in other forgotten things, because I have an outline here, but then just like the YouTube chat and live streams, I go talking about something else and get off topic and then we never go back. I watched The Three Body Problem on Netflix, which is a science fiction series about us reaching out to the stars, essentially, like communicating, saying like, hey, we're here. Anyone else out there? And what happens I'm going to simplify this like crazy because I don't want to go too into it. We send this message out and this girl gets a response back that says, oh, we're out here. And if you reply back to this, we're going to come there. And when we come there, we're probably going to kill you. And then she's like, we're basically killing ourselves anyway, because she's like a big proponent of like saving the environment. So she's like, come on in. And then everyone finds out that these aliens are on their way here, but it's going to be 400 years until they make it because they're so far away. They're traveling at the speed of light and they have technology that's way beyond ours. So then we're left with the question, what do we do? Do we start preparing now and like building technology to like defeat them or to meet them? Do we just give up? Do like where do we go with this? And it's kind of interesting because I think of this almost like the climate change problem, if you believe that exists, where we are creating this problem that we have right now that's going to get way worse in the future. And so many people just want to like brush it under the rug and be like, hey, we got 400 years. It'll be fine. They'll figure something out in the future. Then other people are thinking like, well, maybe we should resolve this now. It might be a good idea for us to like fix it now or like not leave it for future generations. And that's where the debate is. A lot of people are viewing this alien thing as a religious thing. Like the aliens were able to like basically flash lights in the air, like they were able to turn like the stars off. It all sounds very bizarre. These are based on a series of books that are called The Three Body Problem, or at least the first one is. And I don't know if I'd recommend watching the show though on Netflix. It's like 8 episodes or 10 episodes. I don't know if I'd recommend watching it though because it didn't do very well, and I don't know if they're going to make another season of it, which means that you're not getting the full story. Like this is just the beginning, and I'm ready for the rest. So it might be better to read the books, but the books, from what I understand, are like what they call hard science fiction, which means that it's not just like a playful tale. It's like there's a lot of like thinking and like math involved in science. So you'd have to really be invested to get into it. And I'm like considering it, but I don't know. That might be where it ends with the Three Body Problem. That would be a good thing to listen to while I build Lego or do whatever it was that I was doing during live streams. I could listen to the Three Body Problem. But I just wanted to mention that I had watched that. That was what I watched on the plane during our trip. There's also other things with it, with like this VR headset that the aliens give us. And then you have to like make it through these levels and they're trying to test us. It's bizarre, and I probably should have discussed it like right after I watched it, because like I'm remembering things, but now if I describe it to you, it's like all out of context. And if anything, me describing the Three Body Problem makes you want to watch it less. So I would go watch a person that actually does reviews. This is why shorts are perfect for me. I could tell you about Three Body Problem if I really like narrowed it down into less than 1 minute. And I really pondered it for a while. I could probably deliver something pretty persuasive or like useful. But when you have the ability to talk on forever, sometimes you talk on forever. So that is that. So we got Watch Tech out of the way. I got my World of Lego stuff out of the way. We got sickness/health update. If you're wondering about the weight loss, disaster this week. I'm up 1 pound from where I was last week. We're going the wrong direction. So we got to fix that this coming week. I'm writing this week off. Just a week of sickness, but still productive. I'm not saying it was a complete waste, but like man, I lost a few days, but then I made up for it in other ways. And I can't be too hard on myself. Sometimes there's things like that that are out of your control. I did go down a rabbit hole this week. Oh gosh, this is going to be fun to share with you. It's called Suno, suno.ai, suno.ai, and it is a application, not an app, but I guess a website where you can generate AI songs, and AI generated songs. Try saying that. Easy for me to say. And you put in like a prompt, and it'll give you, and you could say like, make me a song about a guy wearing a blue sweatshirt that podcasts every Friday afternoon, and it'll make a little song for you with lyrics and everything. It'll create it all, and you can do it in like any style you want. So I could say, make me a reggae song about a guy wearing a blue sweatshirt that podcasts every Friday afternoon, saying his audio journal or talking about his week, and they would make a song. But you can also get more in depth with it too, and give it lyrics. And then it'll put music and have someone sing it and everything. And that's what I did with this song, which is called Yard Sale Team. It's the story of Bud and Deb going out yard selling. And I want to play it here for you. It's about maybe like a minute long. And this is all made by AI using lyrics that I came up with. So listen to this little jingle and tell me what you think. Ready?
And this is the story of Bud and Deb. They're a yard sale team till the end. Driving around, looking for signs, hunting for deals and incredible finds. But is the driver who wants us out?
Hope that's not too loud.
Got any Legos? You hear him shout. Deb takes her time, she loves to shop. The jeep gets fuller at every stop. Oh, geez, did you hear but cry? How many verses can a person buy? It's yard sale season, let's have some fun and have lunch at McDonald's when we're done. When we're done.
How about that, guys? Completely made by AI. A little jingle about yard sale season. And I was just blown away by that. And I was also thinking about how kind of that may be a little scary for people that used to do that for a living. You'd make little radio jingles for people. Now, I just literally just typed that in. In fact, like I could go there right now. Let's should we do it? You guys have some time on your hands here, right? You can use so many credits per day. I'm going to click create and I'll do a reggae song, just like we said. I don't know why I chose reggae or if I can even spell reggae. Okay, reggae song about a guy wearing a blue hoodie. I'll even put the word hoodie in. That podcasts his life journal every Friday. And they're going to come up with lyrics and make this whole thing. Ready? I clicked create. And it takes a second. It gives you two versions of this. And I know if you're like listening, this might be a little hard to hear. I don't know how that came through. But my favorite lyric from what I came up with there is, how many persons can a person buy? Because Deb always buys persons. And I loved it. So I've been sending them renditions of that song as time went by. But so many of them really didn't work out very well. This is called Island Vibes. Let's see if it plays.
Blue hoodie on, I'm feeling irie. Podcasting my life, come and take a listen on. Friday vibes, let the good times flow. Spreading positivity everywhere I go. Sunshine glistening in the palm tree sway. Journaling my thoughts, I do it my way. Living in the moment, each day's a new chance. Telling my stories with my reggae dance. Blue Hoodie Podcast, spreading good vibes. Live journal every Friday, taking it in stride. Reggae rhythm flowing, let the music
I'm feeling this, boys.
positive energy with every word I say.
Dang, that actually kind of worked for me, dude. Here's the lyrics if you can understand. It says, blue hoodie on, I'm feeling irie. Podcast my life, come and take a listen. Come and listen, mon. Friday vibes, let the good times flow. Spreading positivity everywhere I go. Verse 2 is sunshine glistening in the palm trees sway. Journaling my thoughts, I do it my own way. Living in the moment, each day's a new chance. Telling my stories with my reggae dance. Blue Hoodie Podcast, spreading good vibes. Life journal every Friday, taking it in stride. Reggae rhythm flowing, let the music play. Positive energy with every word I say. Dude, that chorus is where it's at. Blue Hoodie Podcast, spreading good vibes. Life journal every Friday, taking it in stride. Reggae rhythm flowing, let the music play. Positive energy, every word I say. Fire! Anyways, suno.ai. If you want a jingle for anything that you do in this world, you can make it just like that. So literally within seconds, you saw me. All I typed in was, I already said what it is. I'm not going to go back into it. But basically, just a guy in a blue hoodie making a podcast audio journal every Friday, and they came up with that for me, just like that. I was having so much fun with it. They give you so many credits each day where you can make like 5 free songs per day. So if you didn't like that one, you can try a different one. And they give you 2 different versions of it too. So there was a second one on there too that would play. But that's just wild to me that that's possible. And it really shows you the power of AI, even in its immature state that it's in right now, and where it could possibly take us. I know making a song may seem silly or pointless, but like, it could do some amazing things in the future. And I think it already is, but it's also a little concerning because now, just like I was saying there, are humans going to have a purpose in the future? Like right now, if you wrote jingles for people, you're done. Like that just made that whole thing for me. And if I just had the lyrics that I wanted and put them in there, I could keep generating new song after new song until I got it just the way that I wanted it to. Change the lyrics, make a new song. And it's all free. And then also it generates an album artwork for you too. So anyone that was a graphic designer before where that was your thing where you make album artwork, done. Like you're out of business. You're not doing that anymore. And I'm like, I don't know if any industry is safe. Like now they're making AI videos that look real. How long until someone hosts a Lego video that they don't even exist? Maybe the Lego set doesn't even exist. Like they just are building something that's all make believe. I don't know. That'll be a good topic to talk about. I feel like that's going to be the one, guys. Every week I talk about like something that everyone comments on in listener feedback. I think that's going to be the thing. And I think that would be a great discussion that we could kind of take further. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it because your thoughts make the best of the show. And we're going to get into that right now, basically. I should say tomorrow we're going out yard selling again. I was going to give you like my plans for tonight and tomorrow. So today did the yard sale thing, found a couple scores. Tomorrow we're going out again, which should be even better because it's Saturday. Everyone is off typically, and that's when most of the yard sales are. Particularly people with kids as opposed to like retired people on Fridays. So might find some scores tomorrow, which will be exciting. And I'm just ready for it. So it's just gonna be a Bud and myself tomorrow because Cody, Clark, and Yami are going to see our friend Autumn who just had a baby. I'm gonna be home with Roxy Bear because since Deb's going, we can't drop her off. So it's okay. I'm not heartbroken. I'm sure like he's a cute little baby and all, but I'm sure he's going to be there when it's not yard sale season, right? So they're going to go visit him. We're going to go out yard sale tomorrow morning. I'm like really excited about it. So that's going to be a blast. And yeah, I'm excited for this next week coming up to getting into some new Lego stuff. You guys really, so the most exciting thing in your life is Lego and yard sales. I'm like, well, a little bit, yeah. Also bins. We went to I got to fill this in too. This was on my list, but I didn't get into it because we were about ready to go listener feedback. The transition was there and I skirted it for just a second. Went to an estate sale this week. I made out really well. It was like a crappy estate sale, but they had all these CDs there. And I was looking and I saw some Dreamcast games and I started snagging them. There was a total of like 5 games in the web browser installer. And nothing of great value or anything, but there was one called Resident Evil Code Veronica, and I got that for $1 along with the other games. I think I paid $5 for these 6 games or 6 discs, and that game's worth like $20 or $30. I also got a Winnie the Pooh plushie that's really big and really nice. I got that for $2 and it sells for like $20. So I probably made like $40-$50 there off of about a $7 expenditure. So I was happy about that. But then we went to bins, and just like last week, I had my greatest bins week ever. I think I got 18 items. This week I got 9 items. Every single thing that I bought was $2 at the bins, which is the greatest day to go because you can't lose. And I'd say everything that I bought I'm going to make at least $10 on, at least. So that's like turning, we'll just say $18 into, at the very minimum, $90. Some of the things I bought were like worth like 20, 25, $30. So I was very excited, and I'm going to keep going there. So yeah, I just love finding scores. I love finding deals. I love hunting for treasures. I think that's my favorite thing. And yeah, and I make videos like sharing that and people enjoy. In fact, I made a video this week that I loved. It was our Goodwill Hunt video, Goodwill Hunting. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. Speaking of that, they are in the movie Air. It all cycles back around. Matt Damon is the guy that's trying to sign Michael Jordan in the movie Air, and Ben Affleck is Phil Knight, the owner of Nike. So how about that? But Goodwill Hunting video was 45 minutes long. I was like, dang, that's might be my longest vlog I've ever made. And it just felt so right to me. And I loved like the long form nature of it. And I got that same feedback from the viewers of it. People were really enjoying it. The watch, like the average view duration on it was like super high. So people were engaged with it. And that just made me happy to see. It was kind of cool to put out something that is as long as like an hour-long TV show without the commercials interrupting. Well, maybe from YouTube's end. But yeah, I'm feeling really good about the direction of things. You know, sometimes working a little hard to figure stuff out, you know, and maybe sometimes you make the wrong decisions. Like, you know, I live stream all week and it's like, that didn't work, but you can't let that get you down. You just pivot and you move forward. And like when things do work, that feels good, right? And you keep doing more of that. So expect, I was thinking about calling it Greg's SLV, super long vlogs, or it could be LAVs, long boop vlogs. We have kids listening, guys. Greg's Labs, long vlogs. We'll call it that maybe. I don't know. I love it. I love vlogging, and I like just sharing experiences in a what I think is an authentic way, like just allowing you to be here, essentially. That's my goal. Make you feel like you're along for the ride, which is what this podcast is. It has been and will always continue to be. I don't think we're going to modify anything here. We're just going to keep on with what we're doing. It's working for me, and hopefully it's working for you. And we'll find that out right now as I hit the transition like an absolute champion and listener feedback, starting with Ashley, who says, it seems like you had a fantastic time in Disney. Nah, it was terrible. We faked it all. Just kidding. She says, we were laughing so hard with you and Clark in the staircase making noises. It's so cool to see how your relationship evolves as Clark gets older. We're in the 95% totality here, and the clouds move just in time. It was awesome to see. Have a great week. Yeah, I think what the stairway scene in our video showed is that even if you're 39 years old, you can have the sense of humor of a 9-year-old. Or be a 9-year-old at heart, which is what I am. If you haven't seen that scene, we were in this echoey hallway and Clark was making these fart noises and just busting up. And that got me cackling too, because he was laughing like it was one of those belly laughs that if you ever have a kid or a younger child, when they do these belly laughs, which is like just laughing with all their might, it brings a smile to even the Grinch's face. So like me. So it was really fun, and Cody was like, "Stop it!" But it was just so funny. We were just being kooky and having a fun time, and I'm glad that you guys enjoyed that, and I'm glad you got to enjoy the eclipse as well. I should have went there. Next one is from Sally Wilson. Sally she's a long-term survivor. She always sends sweet things to Clark, man, literally and figuratively, and she's a really great lady, all the way from Arizona. Says, need to watch the rest of the video, but wanted to comment on the vacation repeatedness. She said, there's nothing wrong with it. Illinois people love to go to Wisconsin every vacation time. The main point is if you guys, especially Clark, like the Outer Banks, you should continue ritual or routine despite the lines. Yeah, I was talking last week about how, we've been to Disney 4 times now. And like when I share these videos, there's a part of me that feels like a little like self-conscious about it. Not only from the perspective of someone that maybe can't afford to go to Disney, because the last thing I want to do is make people feel bad. They're like, oh, look at these jerks they've been there 4 times in the last 2 years. But what I've gotten, like, that's my fear, right? And what I've learned in my life is so many things that I worry about or fear, hardly any of them actually happen. There's this quote, it says, I've worried about a lot of things. A few of them actually happened. And that I think about that a lot because you always have to wonder, like, how are people going to take this? But it's been nothing but support from people and encouragement, which I think is great. And it's a reflection of the community that I always speak up so much here. So that was nice to see. And people, I think, just enjoy, I sometimes forget that people can just be happy for people. And I wish more people could realize that. It's not like, you have so I don't, or I have and you don't, or I'm better or worse than you. It's none of that. It's just like, can't we just like celebrate each other? Like if you went and did this thing that you really love, why would you be better about that? And I guess I see it mostly from like little kids. They're little kids because it's like, it's a lot of the spoiled comments from Clark, man. Like, oh, Clark's so spoiled. He gets these toys. It's from kids that maybe don't have that and wish they had it. So they take their aggression out through comments. I mean, the truth is some people could, like adult wise, some people could feel a certain way and they just keep it to themselves, which is appreciated. Nothing worse than an uninvited opinion, right? Like oftentimes, in podcast nature, I ask like for your opinion, your thoughts or feedback, but it's like, you shouldn't rain on someone's parade regardless. And if you're going to leave a comment that is hurtful to someone or like isn't good natured, you probably shouldn't have to. Like I schooled this one, I'm assuming it was a kid. He said, not to be mean, but it was something about Clark getting Easter gifts or something like that. And I said to him, my reply was, if you have to start your comment by saying not to be mean, you probably shouldn't say what's about to come after that. Like if you have to like introduce it with saying that. So that's my advice to any of you that are thinking about leaving a comment. If you feel the need, or if it would be appropriate to say not to be mean, but before you say the thing you're about to say to a stranger online, whether it's a video maker or someone else that commented, you're better off just not. Just keep it to yourself. Nothing good's going to come of it. So there's Greg's advice of the day. Anyways, thank you, Sally, for the comment. Also, thank you, Ashley. Next one's from G Family. Says, yes, yes, and yes. Couldn't agree more. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. I talked about how after COVID hit and how we were kind of like forced to not do anything at the time, I started thinking like, geez, anything like this could happen in the future. Turmoil, anything, health reasons, things like that. And I said then that we were going to start living our lives because I spent so much of my life preparing for a future, being a planner, which is what I am at heart, and being the responsible guy that pays off his debts and does the right thing. And I was at the point in my life after doing that for 10 years or more, I was like, you know what? This time is never coming back. The days of Clark Mann being this age and being a kid and having to experience the world in this way, this is our chance. We're living the best days right now. These are the greatest days of our life. I guarantee you 10 years from now, I'm going to look back on these very times that we've had in the last few years where we've traveled and had these experiences. Be like, those were the best times of my friggin' life. Why not take advantage of it? What's the future have for you? And a few people had, and I think we'll talk about this here. A few people talk about responsibility, like, as long as you're doing the responsible thing financially, and it's not destroying you or whatever, like have those experiences. So that's where I'm at on it. And I guess how I justify it, even though I don't really have to, right? We all do whatever we want to do. My advice to you, if you're still in the market for any advice, since I've already given you some, go enjoy your life if you can, because who knows what tomorrow is going to bring, good or bad. It says, raise your hand if you're trying to convince your spouse to move to Florida. I mean, I would, if it was just me, I swear, if I didn't have any connections here, which if it wasn't for Cody and Clark Mann, if it was just me making YouTube videos, I'd probably live in Florida. I probably would. It's just, I hate the cold of the winter. I'd move somewhere warm. It doesn't necessarily have to be Florida, but Florida would be great too. Financially would be as well. There are some risks to moving to Florida with the hurricanes and things like that, but there's no state income tax in Florida either. So as a self-employed person, that would be beneficial for me too. They make their money through tourism. Schmucks like us from Pennsylvania that go down there and have fun in Disney. She says, I mean, who doesn't want to avoid the airfare to Disney? Just pay for the pass. Yeah, I'd get the annual. Here's what I do. I'd move to somewhere close by Orlando, but not in Orlando. That way, maybe I could get a more affordable place, because I imagine real estate down there is insane. I should look. Maybe we can get our winter home there. But then I'd get an annual pass to Disney, and then I'd just go whenever I want. But then someone commented, they said, well, then you wouldn't be able to go to Knoebels anymore. And I'd be like, oh, you know what I'd be doing? I'd be flying to Pennsylvania in the summertime to go to Knoebels. We would just flip-flop. And maybe the grass isn't always greener. I think I talked about this on one of my many live streams this week. The grass isn't always greener on the other side, my friends. You always think like, oh, I'm going to move to Florida. It's going to be great. Then I get down there. I'm like, oh, it's a humid swamp down here, and these summers are miserable. I wish I moved to Pennsylvania. I miss the snow. I miss seeing the leaves in the fall. Maybe right where you are is the place to be. Sometimes something to think about. It's not always better somewhere else. G Family also goes on to say, started reselling recently. I've learned that what you expect to sell doesn't, and what you don't expect to sell sells. That kind of reminds me of my experience on YouTube. You make these videos you think are going to do really well and you spend a lot of time on, and they don't. And then the video that you'd like pulled out your phone out of the pocket and like were accidentally filming vertically, and then like you drop your phone to pick it up and then you don't even edit the video. That's the one that gets 1 million views. It's like, YouTube, why are you showing this to people? Show them the good stuff. Show them the good thing. And then the last thing to says to the audience, document. As Greg says, don't be afraid. You'll enjoy it years from now. It's an investment in your future, your video time capsule or photo and time capsule. Try to capture as much as you can, because your future self will thank you for it. And my current self thanks you for your lovely comment. G Family TV on YouTube. Next one comes from Sam, repeat offender, of course. He says, hey, Greg, it's been a while since I wrote to you. Nonetheless, I'm glad Missing Pieces has returned from its short hiatus. Imagine taking 2 weeks off from your podcast. It's like you fell off the face of the planet. He says, I know you, man. I'm a strict believer that if you have the financial means to, you should absolutely enjoy yourself every moment you get the chance to. My brother isn't one for spending money, which is a good thing. But he's too big of a penny pincher, in my opinion. I've been there. It's a chapter. It's a season. He says, in actuality, though, he just wants to save for his move to New York that is looking to be delayed yet again. Big surprise, considering he's already delayed it like 4 times. Maybe he doesn't really want to go. He says, if going to Disney 4 times is what pleases you, then it's well worth it. Also, yay for yard sale season. Can't wait to see this year's scores. You'll see him. I already got 2, baby. He Says a lot has happened in my world since the last Missing Pieces aired. See, I like to hear what's going on with you guys. I'm boring. I do the same thing every week. I got nothing great to share with you here. You've heard everything that my mind could ever produce at this point. Let's hear what you guys have to say. He says, first major thing that happened the weekend after Easter was my first prom. I'll tell you what, I had an absolute blast. My beautiful date and I danced our hearts out and laughed our butts off, but not before having a blast going out to eat and hanging out at my place. That's lovely. When you guys are married someday, you'll think back about that night. Not pushing that out there, but you never know. You know, these things kind of happen. It says other thing that actually happened the day I'm writing this. Our school held a career fair today, and I was able to get so much more information in the finance department, as well as discovering other opportunities out there for me. I think I have my top 3 colleges picked as well. Look at this man just like figuring his life out. He's out there going to prom with his lovely date, dancing and laughing their butts off, hanging out, going to career fairs, figuring out college. To be young again. Thank you for commenting, Sam. Next one comes from Jay's Hobby Reviews. He says, glad to have this podcast going. Seeing your Disney trip videos, and I was wondering, how do you decide how much equipment to bring or carrying on your trips or potential vlogs? Do you plan it or does it come naturally? What was the best equipment setup for the trip? Thanks for the great content. Dude, I try to keep it simple. When you're out and about, like at an amusement park, you don't want to be carrying a big camera around or any camera at all. What I like is just having my phone in my pocket. When something's happening that I want to record, I pull my phone out, I hit the record button, and then I shoot that. I use an iPhone 14 Pro. I was desperate to update to the 15, but then there wasn't much of an upgrade, so I'm waiting for the next one, and that's like my upgrade because like I want to have the best camera I can, and it shoots great video. Like I've had people ask like, "Oh, what camera are you using?" An iPhone. And it's just so nice because then I record my little clip, I put it back in my pocket. It's convenient to have out. It's not overbearing. Like when I go to yard sales, I film with my phone and you just look like a dude with your phone out. Like you just holding your phone in your hand, as opposed to if I even had like a GoPro or any kind of camera setup, like microphones and things like that, it gets to be a little much. Now in Disney, very passable. You could have any camera you want because it's a place where people are filming, but I like to be a little discreet when I'm making my normal vlogs, so I just use my phone. I did take the DJI Pocket 3 with me, which if you want to see a video on that, I have one when I unboxed it and showed it off and stuff. And that worked really well for stabilization and low light, but I would say the image quality is pretty comparable. So I just took those 2 small things. And it was so simple. And I recorded every single thing you saw with the exception of the pool footage. That was with the DJI Action 4, which is like their version of the GoPro, but better. And it just worked out perfectly. I didn't have a single person complain about audio, video, none of that. It was completely fine. So if you think that you need to go out and get like very expensive cameras to do your thing, I've done that. I've had a lot of cameras along the years that I've used, and I still do use cameras like when I'm at home doing stuff like in the studio here. I have other cameras and stuff, but it really isn't necessary. We're at the point now where it's almost indistinguishable, like which cameras you use. I would say just use whatever you have with you. And typically your phone's going to be that camera that shoots 4K. It looks good. It sounds great. It's perfect for what you're doing, especially when you're out and about like that. And I highly recommend just using your phone. And then like for example, when we go to Cedar Point or Hershey Park this year, I don't want to have a camera with me because it's like, what am I going to do with that when I go on a roller coaster? It flips me upside down. I wear a pair of shorts that has like a zipper pocket on it. I'll put my phone in that zipper pocket, zip it shut, and then I have it. And it's perfect. And then if you want to have a GoPro, you could do something similar with that or attach it to yourself. I think that's the move in those situations. And I don't think you're losing much by not having like a really fancy pants camera. And what slight thing you're losing in quality, you're more than making up for in convenience, in my opinion. Welcome to Greg's Camera Corner. Thank you for the question, though. If you have any other camera-related questions, throw them out there because I love talking that kind of stuff. It's like one of my things that I watch on YouTube is like video camera stuff, phone stuff, and audio-related stuff because it's like always something that I've always been interested in. Next one comes from Jim Rolfe. He says, I too had a windshield incident. Hit a brand new car a month ago, driving a couple weeks ago. I'm assuming he says got a brand new car a month ago. Hopefully he didn't hit one. Driving a couple weeks ago and got on the highway. As soon as I got an I-79 north, rock hits my car/windshield. I too had it filled and it's below my sight line, but when I wash the car, I now see it. It bothers me. Yep, I feel the pain. Yeah, I talked about how we were driving on the highway home from Disney a day later than usual, and a rock came up and just put a big chip out of my windshield. It's on the passenger side. Like if you're sitting in the passenger seat, it'd be like right in front of your view line. And I had it filled, which cost me $80. I didn't put it through insurance or anything because we have a deductible and all that nonsense. So I ended up paying for it anyway. And you don't want to make a claim if you don't have to. But I called around asking about a new windshield and to replace the one in a Subaru, which has this thing called EyeSight. And it detects like how far a car's in front of you and like can help you in like it's adaptive cruise control, essentially, I think is what it's used for. Or like, alert you to things that are happening or obstructions. Because of that needing calibrated, it'd be $800 for a new windshield. So I'm left with the question, and most of you probably would answer this one very quickly, unlike me, where it's like, do I just deal with having this crack in my windshield for the rest of eternity? Or do I spend the $800 to replace an entire windshield for one crack that's in it? And it's like, I'm really tempted. Like I said, I could put it through insurance, but my $500 deductible would almost pay for it. And then I feel like because I have a claim, and if anybody works in insurance, you can confirm or deny this. I feel like once I file a claim, when I go to renew my insurance, they're going to raise my rates up simply because I filed a claim, and I'll end up having to pay for it anyway. There's no way out of this. The insurance money doesn't lose. It's like going to Las Vegas. Like they're going to win no matter what. And it's like, I'm going to spend $500. I might as well just spend the other $300 and get it fixed, which is what I'm considering doing. It just seems so darn stupid to do that for such a small thing. But it's like, my car's like, it's not brand new. I got it at the very end of 2022. And it's like, now that's going to be there forever. I think though, if I am going to get the whole windshield fixed, I should make a video where I just smash the whole darn thing right out. I should take a baseball bat and just go, wha-bam, right into the windshield and make like a little bit of a video out of it. Maybe I can go viral and pay for itself. Maybe I can start a thing where it's like, oh, dude, here's a great idea. If we had the following to do it, for every $1 that someone donates towards the windshield repair fund, I'll hit it with a hammer one time. So if we can get 800 people to donate $1, I hit it with 800 hammer blows, and then the windshield's completely broken out, and then they can put a new one in, and it finances it. That's getting creative right there. Let me know what you guys think about that idea. Might need some backers on that one. Or we could do even more crazy stuff. Who knows? I didn't even think of that until right now. This podcast is great for brainstorming things. That one's a little out there. If I pitched that to Mrs. Brickitect, or Cody as she's known in some circles, she'd probably be like, are you serious? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But I'm like, hey, the power of the internet. We can do crazy things together. I could drive an RC truck off of it. Who knows? But like, it seems silly just to if you're going to get a whole new windshield, and you have to agree with me on this, you should definitely do something to the old windshield. Like you gotta get your money's worth, I guess is what I'm saying. You got to get your money's worth out of this replacement. So why not just give it like the torture test or something? I don't know. We'll see. We'll revisit this next week after we get some input. Hopefully we do. Next one comes from Rob, the Canadian Geek. I like that. He says, glad you guys had fun in Disney. I went myself a few years back. Universal, Legoland, and Animal Kingdom were highlights for me. You, me, same. Universal, I only went one day and it was super busy that day, so I want to go back there desperately. I think our next trip, we're going to plan for like the last day to be a Universal day. So we're like, I'm planning our next trip. They fleeced us already. And they're like, thanks for all your money. And I'm like, oh, Disney, you ripped us off. When can we come back now? Like, what's your schedule looking like? I'm thinking when we go back, the last day we're going to leave the Disney property, go get a hotel near Universal, spend that day at Universal and experience that whole place. In fact, you could probably do Universal for 2 days. There's a lot of stuff there. Coasters are sick. I rode that Incredible Hulk one. Did you ride that one, Rob? That was really fun. And but most of the rides are like the dark rides where you sit there inside a building and you put like 3D glasses on. I don't love those so much. And that's a lot of what Universal is. Like I'd rather, and you didn't hear this from me, but I'd rather see something like It's a Small World where it's like animatronics and you get to actually like sit there and see it with your own eyes. Rides like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. That's an example of like what I want, where you're like really seeing stuff, not just like being tricked because you have these glasses on. You might as well just put a VR headset on and sit in a seat that like moves all over the place because it's like the same experience. In fact, Rob, you're going to freak when you hear this, but my favorite ride at Universal is the ET ride, which to most people would be the worst ride because it's like the oldest, but I don't know, it's really fun for me. It feels like the Pinocchio ride at Disney as well, if we're comparing apples to mangoes. But yeah, I want to go back to Universal again. Animal Kingdom though, it's a lovely park, nice and shady. Some nice rides there. Get to see the animals. It's probably my favorite park, to be honest. Like if I could just go to one of those for a day to chill, that would be the one I want to go to. In terms of rides, I would say probably Hollywood Studio probably has it for rides because you got Rise of the Resistance, you got Slink there. Magic Kingdom though, pretty fire. Maybe Magic Kingdom's the one for rides. There's a lot more rides there. Maybe not quite as amazing as some of the ones in Hollywood, but I don't know. It'd be a tough call if you just went there one day. Probably try to go to both. I'd go to all the parks if you could. Let's see here. Oh, he has more to say. I'm sorry. I'm lost in thought and on my outline. He says, schedules are good to have, especially for losing weight. I've had fluctuations in weight, been going strong the last few months. I'm up a pound this week. Screwed up. He says, I heard many theories on the eclipse. Many people thought the world would end, but the world goes on. Isn't that the case? How many world-ending events have we experienced now? You had Y2K. You had December 21st, 2012, when the world was supposed to end because of the Mayan calendar. You got total eclipses that are crossing in certain points and all this stuff, yet everything just goes on as it usually does. It says, I only have a few water parks nearby. Most are splash pads in our local parks. When I was younger, I loved going to them during the warmish Canadian summers with my buds. Have a great week. All the best from Rob. Thank you, Rob. I'm glad that even Canadians can enjoy a little bit of water park action, even if it's just a splash pad. He had to go during the 2 days out of the year that it wasn't frozen over. I'm kidding. Canadians all just unsubbed. Dang it. Next one came from Clay Turtle. He says, glad you got back safe from a fun trip. Looking forward to the Cedar Point this year. My son is too little to ride the big rides, but my daughter will be 19 and ready to go. Eclipse was a total here. Should have invited you over. Thanks for another great pod. I should have went over and visited you. Then we could have hit up Cedar Point afterwards. Although I don't think they're quite open yet. I'm waiting for those days. He says, I've never been to Hershey Park, but I've always wanted to. See you there the week of Memorial Day? For me, it's like 4 to 4.5 hours to that park and maybe 1.5 to Cedar Point. We also have Kennywood locally, so you can always come ride the Steel Curtain. I feel like I went to Kennywood once because they have a Thomas Land there. We went there with my nephews. There's a video on it. I don't think that we rode the Steel Curtain though. Because Clark was just a little dude. I think my nephews may have. But we're like the opposite. I'm like 2 hours from Hershey Park and 5 hours from Cedar Point. So you're somewhere near Pittsburgh, I would say. Is that where you're at? Or are you in like Ohio? You're somewhere around there, I guess. If you have an hour and a half to Cedar Point, you're probably southern Ohio or maybe western Pennsylvania. I'm just trying. I'm geoguessing you. But yeah, we're like flip-flopped. I would love to, we should do a meetup at Hershey Park. Get a whole bunch of people together. That'd be so much fun. Ride the craziest coasters. Like, I'm really debating it this year. Clark and I, last Friday night, we were eating pizza for dinner. We were watching all the various POV rides of the coasters at Hershey. And he's like, now that he's old enough to like be tall enough, he's like, yeah, I'll ride that. One of them was like a little too scary for him. Wildcats Revenge, I'm really looking forward to, but they do a bunch of barrel rolls in that, and he's a little sketched on it. But I'm thinking once he rides it once, and this is like everything in his life. He's always like afraid or doesn't want to do it, and I like encourage him to do it, which I think is my job. And then after he does it, he's like stoked, and he wants to do it again, and he loves it. We've had that happen so many times to the point where now I'm just like, hey, you know how every time you're afraid to do something and I like encourage you to do it and then you do it and you love it? This is going to be one of those times. And he realizes that. So we're going to have one heck of a time at Hershey this year. And I'm looking at the rides and the coasters there. And I'm like, dang, this place is right up there with Cedar Point and it's 3 hours closer. So I don't know if I'm going to go to Cedar this year. I probably should. There's so many good rides there, but my gosh, are they down all the time? You never know, like when the day you go there, you don't know what rides are going to be down or what time the rides are going to be down. I've never gone there. I think I've been there 3 or 4 times now where like everything's just up and running. Something's always broken down. And I got lucky last year because I really wanted to ride Maverick, which was like my number one most wanted coaster to ride there. It's like a really cool, like flipping you around routine. and it was down constantly. But then I got on it like right after it had been down. And by the time I was walking off of it and trying to get a shot of it, it was down again. It was just like, the one time Cody and I went and it got, there were like terrible thunderstorms in the afternoon and they shut everything down. So we left early. And that's a lot if you're going to drive 5 hours to get somewhere. Last year, I drove 5 hours, rode the rides all day, rode everything basically twice that I wanted to ride because there was nobody there other than like school field trips. I was like the oldest person in the park. And then I just drove home. I was like, it was like 7 o'clock. I was like, I did everything I want to do here. And then I was like, do I just go home? Or do I get a place? And I'm like, let's just start driving. And then I was just committed to it. And I got home. I think I left at like 5 o'clock in the morning and I got home at like midnight. It was a day. It was fun. The only thing I didn't ride that maybe I should have rode was the Steel Vengeance, which is their premier coaster. But I think the wait on that one was the longest. And the last time I rode that, I didn't like it very much because it's one of those ones where it actually flips you upside down. Welcome to Coaster Talk with Greg, my new podcast. But there's nothing that holds your upper body in. This is the thing that would freak most people out. Everything that holds you in goes across your lap, like in your legs. So your legs are secured in and there's no way your legs are moving anywhere, but your upper body is free to fly wherever. So when they flip you over, it feels like nothing's holding you in, which is really kind of a cool feeling. But I felt like it put so much pressure on my legs and other regions, you know what I'm saying, guys? And I just didn't love it. So, and then you have to give up all your stuff and put it in a locker before you go on too. And that sucks. I didn't want to get involved in all that. So I just said the heck with it and I wrote other stuff. But anyways, I think if I go back there, I got to ride Steel Vengeance. That's definitely one that the fam's not going to be interested in. So I would just dump my stuff off with them, go on there and come back, but I'll do it even if it hurts. Next one's from, this is Janos, who I met up with him and his family last week. I was trying to keep it, wasn't sure if he wanted me to talk about it with him specifically, but he's outed himself here. So I'll read his message. He says, "Hey, Greg, I think I gave myself away, but it's amazing to meet with you. They say you never meet your heroes, but I'm so glad we did. You're definitely the nicest person in the world." I did pay him to write this, by the way. I should tell you that. He says, "I wish everyone would have a chance to meet with you in person, although meeting with almost 1 million of your fans wouldn't be as much fun for you as it is for us. And it is addictive as well. Flora is their daughter, says, Flora asks us every day when we will get to meet you again. She also figured out how we could move you over here. I'm available. You guys have roller coasters? You have roller coasters in Hungary? You got to." He says, "Thank you again for spending the time with us. I know how busy your days are, so I really do appreciate it." See, he thinks I'm busy. Dude, I'm building Lego and making podcasts talking about my week. Does this look busy? No, I'm kidding. He says, "I'm really thankful for you creating this great memory for us. It's a memory that we'll cherish forever." Well, I appreciate that. I will too. Your family was so sweet and wonderful, and your daughter is pretty much the cutest thing that's ever happened in this entire existence. Also, he gave us a whole bag of chocolate, which this probably explains why I went up a pound this week. This is what happened. We've been diving into that chocolate and there's some darn good stuff in there. I can't say the names of most of the stuff, but holy smokes, is it delicious. And every night after dinner, I'm out there picking into it. Clark Man's eating it. Mrs. Brickdeck's eating it. It was some good stuff. But yeah, I was thinking too, you talk about how it was really cool for you to meet. If you guys want to know the backstory, they had flown into the United States to go see the eclipse. And they did that. And on their way back through Pennsylvania, they asked if I would be wanting to meet with them and we could have some Five Guys. I said, "You had me at Five Guys." So we went there, we had some lunch, chatted. It was wonderful. And I was thinking as I was coming home, what a crazy experience that was. Not necessarily for you, but for me. Like, who in this world would want to have lunch with me? Like, why would you want lunch? And I was like so nervous about like saying yes, because I was like, his whole family is going to be nothing but disappointed. You know what I mean? Like they're doing all this and coming all this way and driving out of their way to come have lunch with me. And it's like, what could I possibly like bring to the table that would make this worth it for them? And I was just like, I was worried, but then we met up and it was just completely natural and it was fun. And they were super sweet and nice, just like everyone that I've ever met. And it's always the same story. A nice, lovely family with a younger kid, and everybody in the family is great. And it's every time I meet somebody, whether it be Knoebels or all the other parks that we go to, I've met people at pretty much every park except for Hershey. Maybe if we make some more videos there, we will. And it's always the same story. Even Ocean City, which, man, that just made me think of that crazy experience we had last time where we were about ready to take a selfie out, or Clark Man was about to take a photo of Cody and I. We were recreating this photo by the pier with the Ferris wheel behind us. And this dude came over and was a viewer of our channel and took a picture of all of us together. And it was just like this wild thing. I'm like, what are the chances of this happening? Because I don't view myself as a YouTuber with like this big following. I'm just a guy that like shares his home movies. But it was really cool, and I'm glad they had fun. The only thing that I wish we had met during the afternoon, and Cody and Clark were still in school, but I was telling Cody, or Mrs. Brickdeck as she's known in other circles, that it would have been so cool if it had been later. We could have all met up together and our families would have fit together so perfectly. Like his wife and Cody would have been perfect, and Clark and Flora perfect. And it would just like, we could have all like matched up essentially, and it would have been fantastic. Unfortunately for them, they were stuck with just me. And I offer my sincerest apologies, but I'm thankful that you guys seemingly had a good time, and I did too. It was real nice, and they didn't kidnap me or anything like that. So also good. Next one, thank you for meeting up with me. Next one comes from Brad's Brick Post. Love that name. It sounds so good. And he says, "Hey Greg, I definitely recommend push-ups, sit-up goal, especially after eating Five Guys last week." He didn't say that. He says, "There's some kind of weight or resistance training as you continue your diet. If you're pushing to get down to that 159, your body hasn't been at a long time. It will get harder and harder for your body to hold on to your lean muscle mass. Weightlifting guys call this looking flat at the end of the diet. The weight training and protein intake will really push your body and try to hold on to your muscle as you're dieting. Good luck with it as you continue. Sounds like an awesome week at Disney." It was. Thank you for commenting and also being my personal trainer. Not only does he make Lego videos, he's also a perfect person to go for fitness advice. Multi-talented, if you will. But I appreciate the encouragement, the advice, and the well wishes. Thank you, sir. Next one comes from a name that I'm going to botch. It's here. I'm going to spell it for you, and you tell me how you would say this. UHMAIKERU. Umekeru. Sorry about that. He or she says, "I finally caught up with the podcast. It's been a couple years since I watched you, but I happen to remember you had this podcast. I was happy to see you still going strong on these. They're a great time killer during my college hours. I'm not into Lego scene anymore, but I like to watch your videos of you or for you. Keep doing you." Thank you. Thank you for the advice. I'm glad you came around to the podcast and that you're caught up. So if it's been a few years, geez Louise, you might have had 100 episodes to listen to. That would take an incredible amount of time. I guess if you listen to them back to back, but now you're all caught up. You've heard every single thing that I've done or talked about in the last couple years that you're gone. So it's just like catching up with an old friend, only like instead of meeting over Five Guys burgers and just like hanging out, you got to listen to me blabber on for 100 hours about all the things that I'm up to and into. My apologies for that, but thanks for sticking with me and also for being a survivor. I'm glad that you're still around. And even if you're not into Lego anymore, I'm glad that you're into coming along with us. If you want to come along with us further, we'll be doing a lot of that here this spring and summer. Of course, the yard sale season, all the other stuff that we have planned. It's going to be a great time. Once again, just trying to live the best life that I can with what I've got and make the most of my time, because I think that's about all you can do. Speaking of all you can do, you can leave a like on this video if you want to. Not that important. Also, you can support this podcast. I should start doing this shout out probably a little earlier. You can support our podcasts and all the other stuff we do. If you want to see us do cool stuff, you can become a patron. We have a Patreon thing. There's different tiers. There's a tier where you get access to our Discord. We'd love to have you there. You can also get exclusive videos and our newly created Photo of the Month Club, where if you sign up for the high tier, the highest tier, every month you can, I'm taking photos because it's something I like to do and I want to be encouraged to do that. So picking like my 3 favorite photos, and you can pick which one you like the best and I'll mail it directly to you as a part of that tier. It's a Photo of the Month Club, and I'm excited about that. I just did the first entry into it yesterday, and everyone's choosing the photos, and it's fun to see like which ones people choose. And they're like little Polaroid instant photos, like tiny ones, which is cool. So we'll be mailing all those out this week. I'll talk more about that. But if you enjoy what I'm doing here, I appreciate the support. And if you can't do it that way, the the best thing that you can do is just continue tuning into whatever we're doing here on YouTube. I appreciate that, and I'm happy to have you, and lucky. I'm very lucky to have you as a part of our community. So thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a glorious week. And as always, we'll find you in the next Missing Pieces.